Chapter 1. Family in Transition. Some families continue to live in one place for many generations, but some families shift from place to place. This happens for various reasons. Migration and displacement. Migration. Sometimes people move from one place to another to settle there. This is called migration. The people who migrate are called migrants. Most people migrate to other places primarily for the following reasons: better or higher education, better job opportunities, after marriage, job transfer. Abhay's father is a commandant in CRPF and his mother is a housewife. Abhay studies in class 5th while his younger sister studies in class 2. Both are in Central School. Since their father has a transferable job, their family has to move from one place to another every 3 years or earlier. Abhay's family has shifted in Delhi just a few months earlier. Before this, they were in Srinagar. Every time his father is transferred, he and his sister have to be admitted in a new school. They have to adjust in a new environment, though it causes trouble to the family. Yet, they love visiting new places and meeting new people. They also keep in touch with old friends. Displacement. Sometimes people have to leave the place of their origin unwillingly. They are forced to migrate and shift to another place. This is called displacement. There are many reasons for displacement. Natural calamities like floods, famines, earthquakes, tsunamis, etc. usually result in loss of life and property. People have to move to safer places to save themselves. Sometimes wars and some political decisions also force people to move. Partition of India and Pakistan was one such political decision which displaced many people. Sometimes the government breaks the houses built on unauthorized land. This is called demolition. This also displaces people. Construction of industries, dams and flyovers also compel people to move to other places. Sometimes during the construction of a dam, the government asks the people living there to leave their homes as the entire place would submerge under water. When there is a war, people leave their homes to escape from the violence. Sometimes they seek shelter in another country. Such people are called refugees. Aarti's family used to live in a village on the banks of a major Indian river. They collected wood from the forest close by and grew cereals and vegetables like yam and potato. When the government announced the building of a dam on the river, Aarti and her neighbors were asked to move. They were told that the river water was rising and as a result the dam would flood their village. They were offered a place at a higher level, around 20 kilometers north of their home. This place was far from the river and also from the forest on which Aarti's family depended for wood. The soil there was not as fertile as the land near the river. Aarti's husband spoke to the government representative and asked for a place closer to the lake that would be formed by the dam. He also asked for fishing right there. The official promised him that those things would be granted to him and to other members of the community once the dam was completed in about 4 years. He also promised the displaced families a certain sum of money to help them survive while the dam was being built. Impact of migration. There are certain negative as well as positive effects of migration. A family has to adjust in a new environment. The elderly of the house are left alone when the younger generation migrates. Migrants have to adjust to the local language, food, climate, and other cultural changes of the new place. Migration has many positive aspects also. there is an increase in job and educational opportunities. Cultural integration, mixing, and cooperation take place between people of different places. Changing family structure. About 3 or 4 decades ago, the structure of Indian families was quite different from the structure of today's family. At that time, women were confined to the home. They remained busy in household chores like cooking food, washing clothes, and taking care of the children in the family. Nowadays, girls are encouraged to pursue higher education. Many of them are professionally qualified. They have started working and go out of their houses frequently. Some even run different types of business. Many young boys and girls go to other cities and countries for higher education or work. They have to leave their families. Whenever a family member moves out of the house, the whole family structure changes. When a girl is married, she has to leave her parental home and set up a new home with her husband. This also brings a change in her family as well as her husband's family. The birth of a baby also brings a change in the family structure. Chapter 2. Likes and Dislikes. Different likes and dislikes. Different people have different likes and dislikes. Some of us like South Indian food. Some like North Indian food. Some like vegetarian food and some like non-vegetarian food. Not only the eating habits, but our choice of colors, dresses, games, music, etc. also differs from person to person. The members of different generations talk and dress differently. They have different dreams and ambitions. Ravi's 20-year-old cousin, Vandana, is studying at an aircrew training institute in Maharashtra. She wants to become an air hostess and work with a big airline company. She faced a lot of opposition from her family initially because they did not think it was a safe job to take up. But Vandana and her mother, Neetu, convinced everyone, and Vandana proved herself by winning a scholarship from the training institute. Reasons for different likes and dislikes. Different factors influence our likes and dislikes. For example, in some families, people do not use onion and garlic in their food, while in other families, these are used frequently in food. Let us know about the different factors influencing our likes and dislikes. Family background. Our family plays an important role in determining our tastes. For example, Isha's family is vegetarian, whereas Samira's family is non-vegetarian. Cultural background. We Indians like spicy and oily food. We also love to eat pickles. We love to live in big families. We like to visit our relatives often. Whereas people in the West, those living in UK and the USA, do not like spicy and oily food. They mostly live in nuclear families. Conditions. Apart from studying, we also enjoy listening to music, dancing, watching television, and playing various indoor and outdoor games during vacation. We do not like to read only our school books, but during examination time, we stay away from loud music, do not watch television, and limit our playtime. Occupations. The kind of work people do often builds their tolerance and likes for certain things. A leader may not like to sit in front of a computer and do a passive job. He or she perhaps likes to be active and move around. Timing. During vacations or weekends, when we are relaxed, we do not like to study or do any other work. On the contrary, we like to rejuvenate ourselves by going out for picnics, movies, etc. We like to hear music when we are dancing, but it annoys us when we are studying or sleeping. People with special needs. There are some people who need extra help because one or more of their sense organs may not be working as it should. Usually, the family support helps such people to go about their daily routine and develop independence. Do you know someone who cannot see or hear or speak? Have you ever helped a person with a disability? People with disability should actually be considered as people with different abilities. There are many examples of people all over the world who have overcome their lack of a sense organ and done very well in life. Reading by feeling. Visually impaired people have an extraordinary sense of touch. They read Braille script by running their fingers along the dots. Braille script is written on a thick paper by making a row of raised dots with a pointed tool. All the letters of Braille are made of 1 to 6 dots. Braille is read by rolling the fingers on the raised dots. They can also write Braille on a machine called a Braille writer. Helen Keller was a blind and deaf lady who lost both her senses due to an illness. Her teacher, Anne Sullivan, taught her reading and writing. She learned many languages and became a world-famous author. Helen Keller worked very hard and in spite of her disabilities became world-famous. She worked with soldiers who had been blinded in war. Stephen Hawking is a great scientist who has an incurable motor neuron disease due to which he is unable to speak or move. He moves and works using a wheelchair equipped with a computer voice stimulator. Louis Braille, Helen Keller, and Stephen Hawking are some people who overcame their disabilities with their determination and became successful in life. Sensing without speaking. Infants cannot speak. They communicate through their expressions and by crying. Babies usually cry when they are wet, hungry, or uneasy. It is the mother who understands all the needs of her baby. Steps to help differently abled persons. Many steps have been taken by our government to provide a friendly environment to differently abled people. Some of these are: our government has set up many schools, colleges, and other institutions for differently abled students. Here, special computers with speakers are installed. News is telecast in sign language on national channel for the people who cannot hear. There are ramps at railway stations, metro stations, and shopping malls for people who use wheelchair. There are low-floor buses in Delhi for easy boarding and deboarding. Chapter 3. Our body organs. The organ systems. When a group of organs together work for a specific function, it is called an organ system. There are many organ systems in the body. Example: the digestive system, the respiratory system, the circulatory system, the nervous system, and the excretory system. The digestive system. The digestive system helps to break down the food we eat so that the nutrients are absorbed and the waste is thrown out. The process of digestion begins as soon as we put food into our mouth. The teeth grind the food and it is mixed well with saliva, a sticky substance present inside our mouth. The saliva changes the food into a sugar called glucose. After the food is chewed, it is swallowed and sent to the stomach through the food pipe or the esophagus. In the stomach, the food particles are churned well and mixed with gastric juices. The walls of the stomach produce an acid that helps in digestion. Other internal organs such as the gallbladder, pancreas, and liver also help in digestion. From the stomach, the food goes to the small intestine. Here, essential substances from the food, called nutrients, are absorbed into the blood. The leftover food then enters the large intestine. Here again, some amount of nutrients and water gets absorbed into the blood. The remaining solid waste product is pushed by the large intestine into the rectum. From the rectum, you push out the waste through the anus when you go to the toilet every morning. The respiratory system. The air we breathe in goes inside our body through the nose. This is called inhalation. From the nose, the air goes down the windpipe towards the lungs. We have two lungs. The lungs help in respiration. Respiration is a process by which oxygen from the air we breathe in is absorbed into the blood and carbon dioxide is removed from the blood. With each breath, the lungs add fresh oxygen to our blood. The impure air full of carbon dioxide is then exhaled or breathed out. The lungs are protected by a cage-like structure made of bones. It is known as the rib cage. When the windpipe gets choked, people suffer from asthma and other breathing disorders. They use an inhaler which releases a drug that widens the air passages, making breathing easier. The circulatory system. The heart pumps blood and the blood is circulated to different parts of our body through blood vessels. The heart, blood and blood vessels make up the circulatory system. The heart pumps 72 times in a minute. It has two pumps, each forming one side of the heart. A thick wall of muscle called the septum divides the two sides. Each side has two chambers separated by a one-way valve. The upper chamber is called the atrium, where blood accumulates. The lower part is the main pumping chamber called the ventricle. The blood vessels carrying blood to different parts of the body are of three types: veins, arteries, and capillaries. Veins carry impure blood from different parts of the body back to the heart. They are, therefore, represented in blue. Arteries carry pure blood to different parts of the body from the heart. The circulatory system is the main transportation and cooling system for the body. The nervous system. The brain, spinal cord, and the vast network of nerves form the nervous system. The brain thinks for the entire body. It sends signals to different parts of the body through a network of nerves from the nervous system. The brain is protected by a bony box called the skull. The brain has three main parts: cerebellum, cerebrum, and medulla. The cerebellum controls the voluntary movements of our body, such as running, walking, throwing, holding, etc. The cerebrum controls the balance of our body. The medulla regulates the involuntary activities like heartbeat, breathing, etc. The nerves are a bundle of thread like telephone wires that connect the brain and the spinal cord to the other parts of the body. The spinal cord is a thick bundle of nerves connecting the brain to the rest of the body. It starts from the back portion of the brain and continues down to the lowest end of the backbone. It is protected by the spinal column, backbone. It carries information from the brain to the other nerves of our body. The excretory system. The excretory system helps us throw out the waste from our body. The kidneys, skin, and the lungs are all parts of excretory system. Lungs help to throw out carbon dioxide from the body. The skin helps in removing excess salt and water from the body through sweat. Kidneys are the most important organs of the excretory system. There are two kidneys in our body. Each consists of tiny filters called nephrons, which filter the waste out of the blood. The waste produced combines with water to form urine. The urine gets collected in the urinary bladder. When the bladder is about halfway full, we feel the need to pass urine. Chapter 4. Work is Worship. We cannot do all the work ourselves. We are dependent on other people for several things. For example, a milkman brings milk for us every morning. A newspaper vendor brings the newspaper every morning. A maid helps us in our household work. A washerman washes our clothes. Farmers, craftsmen, and factory workers produce goods for us. They all provide essential services to us. People work in different positions and capacities to earn their living. All work is important. There is no good or bad work. Therefore, we must be thankful to the people who help us. We must respect them. Mental and physical work. People work to earn a living. The work done by a person to earn a living is called a job or an occupation. Jobs can be grouped as mental work and physical work. Doctors, teachers, and lawyers are examples of people who do mental work. They are highly educated people. They require some training in their fields of work. People who work in offices also do mental work. They are called white-collar workers. Any work that involves physical labor is called physical work. Farmers, masons, carpenters, cobblers, and rickshaw pullers do physical work. They are not highly educated people, and they do not require training to do their jobs. People who do physical work in industries are called blue-collar workers. In all societies, people have divided the work among themselves to make each other's life comfortable. In our country, we label certain jobs as dirty and look down upon them. But we should ask ourselves that if there is no one to help us clean our homes and neighborhood, collect garbage, clean floors and utensils, would we be able to live normal lives? People who sweep the roads, clean the sewage lines, or collect our household garbage are as important in our lives as engineers, doctors, or office workers. Disrespect to any job leads to social injustice and inhumanity to mankind. Dignity of labor. Dignity of labor makes humans realize that every individual must do his or her share of work for the betterment of society. It teaches us to respect all types of work. Dignity of labor encourages all types of workers to enjoy and take pride in their work. In certain places like Europe, people who perform essential services like cleaning public places are treated with respect. In fact, students take up jobs like sweeping, waitressing, etc. to earn money and support themselves while studying. However, in India, people generally do not treat sweepers, cobblers, and garbage collectors with dignity, which is totally unethical. These people should be considered important and given due respect. Mahatma Gandhi is used to say that every job or work is worship to God. He believed in dignity of labor and respect for all human beings. To set an example, he himself cleaned the toilet of his house. He assured sweepers that there is no disgrace in doing their job. He would call their work essential social work. Many social reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Swami Vivekanand, and Swami Dayanand worked hard to promote the dignity of labor. Chapter 5. Games we play. When we work all the time and have no time to enjoy, our mind becomes dull. Playing games is the best way to relax ourselves. They keep our body and mind fit. The games are either played individually or as a team. Let's study about them in detail. Individual games and team games. Individual games. Many games can be played all by oneself. They are known as individual games. Swimming, gymnastics, racing, jumping, skating, cycling, archery, golf, etc. are individual games. We practice these games alone. With the help of our teacher or coach, we get proper training. With hard work and practice, we can do well in these games. We can take part in inter-school and intra-school competitions. We can bring laurels to our school and make our teachers proud. Team games. Many games are played in groups. Such games are played between two teams. The number of players in each team vary from game to game. Such games are called team games. Basketball, cricket, football, hockey, volleyball, etc. are team games. We play mostly team games at school. There are some other sports like badminton and tennis which are played both as individual events and team events. In these games, a team comprises of two players in a side. Team spirit. In an individual game like chess or wrestling, a player does not depend on other players for winning. He or she has to depend solely on himself or herself and use all his or her skills to compete with his or her opponent. It is entirely up to him or her to decide how he or she should play to win the game. A win or loss depends on how good the player is and how well he or she plays on that particular day against his or her opponent. But a team game like cricket or hockey involves a number of players in a team. No single player, however talented, can win a game solely on his individual talent. In a team game, victory or loss depends on the entire team and not on any individual player. A team in which each player is willing to give his or her best for his or her teammates is said to possess team spirit. Team spirit aims at developing trust and companionship among the team members. Every player develops a loyalty to his or her team and does not play for his or her interest alone. A team of less talented players with high team spirit has more chance of winning than a bunch of very talented but selfish players who have no team spirit. Captain of the team. The captain of the team decides on a plan of action with his or her team members. He or she directs the work of the team and makes sure that each player does the work given to him or her. The captain has a lot of responsibilities. He or she often gets the credit or blame for winning or losing the game. The leader should be focused about achieving the goal, frank, honest and truthful, fair, unselfish and caring towards team members. Can you think of any other qualities that a leader should have? Discuss with your classmates and make a list in your scrapbook. Equal opportunities for girls and boys. Every child has a right to sound health and physical fitness. These days in the schools, boys and girls are made to participate in all games and physical exercises together. The teachers give a lot of encouragement to girls to participate in school games and competitions. National teams. When we play for our school, we are cheered by our schoolmates while playing a game. A child who excels at the school level, if provided proper training, essential support and encouragement by the teachers and parents, can represent our country. He or she is then called a national player. It is a matter of great pride and honor to represent the country in international sports events like the Olympic Games, World Championships, Asian Games, etc. A national player is recognized everywhere and is regarded as a hero by the people of the country. A national team consists of players from different parts of the country. They might have different languages or religions, but when play for the country, they have only one identity: Indians. When our national teams win in international tournaments, the whole country celebrates their victory. Thus, games unite the people of a country through the performances of national teams. In recent years, India has shown great progress in many sporting events in international level. Some of the players who have made a name for themselves and made the country proud are P.T. Usha, running, and Anju Bobby George, long jump in athletics. Prakash Padukone, P. Gopichand, Saina Nehwal, and P.V. Sindhu in badminton. Michael Ferreira, Geet Sethi, and Pankaj Advani in billiards and snooker. Vishwanathan Anand, P. Harikrishnan, Kaneru Hampi, and Parimarjan Negi in chess. Sunil Gavaskar, Kapil Dev, Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Saurav Ganguly, Virat Kohli, and Rabindra Jadeja in cricket. Baichung Bhutia and I.M. Vijayan in football. Arjun Atwal and Jyoti Randhawa in golf. Major Dhyanchand, Dhanraj Pillai, and Dilip Turki in hockey. R.S. Rathore, Jaspal Rana, Anjali Bhagwat, and Abhinav Bindra in shooting. Vijendra Singh and Mary Kom in boxing. Sushil Kumar, Babita Phogat, Geeta Phogat, and Sakshi Malik in wrestling. Kunjarani Devi and Karnam Malleswari in weightlifting. Deepa Karmakar in gymnastics. Chapter 6. Traditional Games. With the passage of time, many ancient sports and games have been either lost or have undergone changes and have developed into more modern games. However, a few traditional sports have survived and are still played in different parts of the world. In India, many traditional games are still popular and played in different parts of the country. Let's know about some of them. Popular traditional games. Kho-Kho. Kho-Kho is one of the most popular traditional games of Maharashtra. It is played by teams of 12 players who try to avoid being touched by members of the opposing team. The word Kho in Marathi means go and chase. Kabaddi. Kabaddi is a very old and popular game. A raider is one who enters the area of the opponent team and keeps chanting Kabaddi Kabaddi in one breath. The number of opponents a raider touches during the raid are declared out and are sent off the field. But if the raider is captured by the defenders or his breath runs out before he returns to his half, he is considered out. At the end of the game, the team with the most points wins. Wrestling. Wrestling or kushti has been one of the most popular traditional games of our country. The wrestlers are known as pehalwans or mallas. In wrestling, two wrestlers face each other and attempt to throw the opponent on the ground. Wrestling is practiced in many different forms in different parts of India. Some of them are Naga wrestling, Nagaland; Kirip, Nicobar Islands; Mizo in Chai, Manipur; in Buon, Mizoram; Mukna, Manipur; Saldu, Nicobar Islands. Mallakhambh. Mallakhambh is a kind of Indian gymnastics usually performed on a pole. The performer performs various complex exercises which require him to turn, twist, stretch and balance on the pole. The grace, agility, dexterity and suppleness of body combined with quick reflexes, muscle coordination and sense of timing of the performers makes this game worth watching. Nut. Nut is the traditional Indian sport of acrobatics. It is usually seen being performed on the streets by a group of people, normally belonging to a family, as a part of its livelihood. The art has been practiced by these families over several generations. Some of the common acts include a girl walking on a rope, balancing a child on a huge pole, wherein the child reaches the top of the pole, which is balanced by the male member either on his stomach, chest or head. Martial arts of India. The martial arts are fighting skills developed over the centuries. Most of them are connected with religion or self-defense. Many are practiced as a way of life to produce a disciplined mind as well as a healthy body. Martial arts have developed chiefly as sports. All gurus and shishyas of martial arts have to make promise not to use their fighting skills to attack innocent people. Judo, karate, jujutsu, and kung fu are some of the famous international martial arts. Some of the popular martial art forms of India are Kalaripayattu. Kalaripayattu is the traditional martial art of Kerala and is practiced by both men and women. It includes demonstrations of physical exercises and mock duels, both with and without arms. Today, Kalaripayattu is a method of physical fitness and an empty-handed means of self-defense. Thoda. Thoda, the impressive martial art form of Himachal Pradesh, requires bows and arrows. The word thoda actually refers to the round piece of wood fixed to the head of the arrow, which is used to blunt its wounding potential. The game is played in a martial court. Two groups of archers armed with wooden bows and arrows face each other. They are accompanied by dancing and cheering team members. One group of archers attack the opponents with arrows, aiming to hit the part of their legs below the knee. The defenders try to avoid being hit by furiously sidestepping and kicking their legs in all directions. Chebi Gadga. This is one of the Manipur's most ancient martial arts. The contestants fight a duel within a circle, each carrying a sword made up of a stick encased in soft leather and a shield made of leather. The person who scores the maximum points wins. Silambam. Silambam is a martial art of Tamil Nadu involving the use of a long staff for self-defense or mock fighting. Two contestants fight within a circle of about 20 to 25 meter radius, drawn on an even and hard surface. The result is determined on the basis of the number of touches made by one contestant on another with the tip of the staff. Kick fighting of Nagaland. Kick fighting is the prominent sports in Nagaland. The contestants stand apart on their marks and kick each other, solely with the legs. They are not allowed to use their hands to hit or catch each other. Changing nature of leisure. Earlier, people used to spend their leisure time in different kinds of local games and sports, cottage art and craft activities, and cultural activities. Now, with changing times, the nature of leisure activities has also changed dramatically. Instead of playing outdoor games with friends, children enjoy watching television, playing video games, and surfing the internet instead of listening to stories or reading storybooks. Many children nowadays prefer to watch cartoons and other programs on the television. The leisure activities of elders have also changed. Instead of doing physical activities, many people now find it more enjoyable to watch the television and go out for eating in restaurants. Such activities have made them lethargic and physically unfit. Chapter 7. Growing Plants. Just like animals, plants also have a limited lifespan. They have, therefore, developed different ways to reproduce so that they can keep multiplying in number and continue their existence. Plants reproduce through three main ways: through seeds, through spores, through vegetative propagation by roots, stems, leaves, etc. Reproduction through seeds. The flowers changes into fruits which have seeds in them. Some fruits have only one seed in them, whereas some have many seeds. All seeds do not grow into new plants because of the following reasons. Some seeds are not fully developed when they get separated from parent plants. Some seeds are eaten up by birds or animals. Some seeds are destroyed by strong winds and heavy rains. Some seeds do not get enough air, water, or soil for germination. The main function of the seed is to give rise to a new plant. Seeds are of different shapes, sizes, and colors. Parts of a seed. A seed has three main parts. They are seed coat, seed leaves or cotyledons, embryo. Seed coat. It is the outer covering. It protects the baby plant inside the seed. The seed coat has a hole. This hole allows water to enter the seed. Seed leaves. Seed leaves are also called cotyledons. They store food for the baby plant. Seeds like beans and grams have two cotyledons. They are called dicots. Seeds like wheat and rice have only one cotyledon. They are called monocots. Embryo. The embryo is the baby plant which grows into a new plant. Germination. When a seed gets the right amount of water, air and warmth, it grows into a new plant. The development of a seed into a seedling is called germination. The seedling then grows in two directions. One part grows downward and forms the root system. The other part grows upward and forms the shoot system. When the plant becomes an adult, the shoot bears flowers, fruits and seeds. When the fruits are ripe, the seeds get scattered either by plant itself or are dispersed by birds, animals and humans. In this way, the plant keeps reproducing. Conditions suitable for germination. All seeds require air, water and warmth for proper germination. Reproduction through spores. Plants like ferns, mushrooms, etc. reproduce from small seed-like structures called spores. Each spore grows into a new plant. Vegetative propagation. All plants do not grow from seeds. Some plants can grow from other parts of plants. The process by which a plant reproduces from its body parts, such as stem, root, or leaf, is called vegetative propagation. Reproduction from stem cuttings. Plants like rose, hibiscus, and sugarcane grow from stem cutting. Take a cutting from the rose plant, plant it in soil. After a few days, a new plant will grow from it. Reproduction from stems. Potato and ginger are underground stems. Take a potato and observe it. It has buds called eyes on it. Under suitable conditions, any piece of potato which has at least one eye can grow into a new plant. Reproduction from leaves. Bryophyllum plant grows from its leaves. It has buds along the edges of leaves. New plants grow from these buds. Reproduction from roots. Roots of some plants such as carrots and sweet potatoes can grow into new plants. Dispersal of seeds. The process by which seeds are scattered away from the mother plant is called dispersal of seeds. Seeds are dispersed by different agents like wind, water, animals, and explosion. Dispersal of seeds help them reach the place which has favorable conditions for their growth, such as enough air, water, space, and sunlight. Dispersal by wind. Some seeds are light in weight and have hair or wings on them. Such seeds are easily dispersed by air. For example, the seeds of dandelion, cotton, and madar. Dispersal by water. Some plants grow near water bodies. Their seeds are easily dispersed by flowing water. Such seeds usually have a waterproof covering. For example, the lotus has a spongy and light fruit. It floats far away, dispersing its seeds on the way. The fibrous outer covering of a coconut enables it to float on water and reach other places. Dispersal by animals or birds. Some seeds are dispersed by human beings, birds, and animals. You must have seen some seeds fly and stick to our clothes. These seeds are of plants like xanthium and spear grass. They have hooks or spines which get stuck up with our clothes, and we carry them to distant places. These seeds also get stuck on the fur or hair of animals and are thus dispersed to different places. Some fruits are eaten by birds or animals. Their seeds are then passed out in their wastes. Animals also eat flesh and juicy parts of fruits and throw seeds here and there. Dispersal by explosion. Some fruits explode or burst in open when they become dry. This explosion results in the scattering of seeds in different directions. Pea plant, touch-me-not, balsam plant, etc. disperse their seeds by explosion. Plants that have come from far. All plants do not grow at all places.
Some plants are brought from different countries and then grown at new places.
Several plants have come to India from other places. One of such plants is tea. Let us know about the origin of tea. The story of tea. Tea is a very popular drink in India. However, the tea plant is not native to India. It has its origin in China. The story of how tea was discovered is very interesting. About 5,000 years ago, there was a Chinese emperor who always boiled water before drinking it. One day, a few tea leaves fell into the pot of boiling water. It gave the water a delightful flavor. The emperor liked it very much and wanted to have it every day. The leaves that fell into the water were those of a wild tea plant. Soon the Chinese began to boil tea leaves in water to enjoy a refreshing drink. Later, the habit of drinking tea spread throughout the world. Tea in India. Tea was brought to India by the British, but now tea is cultivated in many parts of northeast India, mostly in Darjeeling and Assam. It is also cultivated along the slopes of the Nilgiri Hills in South India and the Kangra Hills in Himachal Pradesh. Other foods from far and wide. Many other plants popular in India have originated in other countries. Let us read about some of them. Potato originated in Peru. Wheat was first grown in Syria and Turkey. Coffee was first grown in Ethiopia. Apple originated in China. Onion is a native of Egypt. Banana and mango came from East Asia. Watermelon was first grown in South Africa. Some spices also have a foreign origin. Cloves and pepper originated in Indonesia. Cinnamon came from Sri Lanka. Chapter 8. Forests and Tribal People. Forests are large areas where trees grow very close to one another under natural conditions. In forests, human population is either absent or very little. Forests are useful to us in many ways. Forests are home to a vast variety of plants and animals. They provide grass and fodder for the animals. They provide wood for making houses and furniture. It is also used as a fuel. Besides that, they give us honey, vegetables, tubers, roots, oils, herbs, fruits, medicines, gum and raisins. They are the main source of livelihood for the tribals living in the forests. They maintain oxygen, carbon dioxide balance in nature. When plants make their food by the process of photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen, which is used by animals and human beings for breathing. We take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. In this manner, the balance is maintained in nature. Roots of the trees bind the soil tightly. During rains or storms, the top fertile soil does not get eroded. But if we cut down trees, soil becomes loose and gets washed away easily by rain and storms. They also maintain water cycle in nature. Types of forests. Let us look at some of the major forest types in India. evergreen forests. The trees in these forests remain green throughout the year. These forests are found in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. Monsoon forests. In these forests, new growth of leaves takes place when rainfall occurs. These forests are found in lower slopes of the Himalayas. Coniferous forests. Trees in coniferous forests have needle-like leaves that are cone-shaped so that snow does not accumulate on them. These forests are found in the upper Himalayan region. Semi-desert and desert forests. Trees in semi-desert and desert forest have deep roots to draw water from depth. These forests are found in Rajasthan and in parts of Deccan Plateau. Mangrove forests. These forests have very thick vegetation. They are found in West Bengal and on deltas of rivers Godavari, Krishna, and Mahanadi. Tribals. There are many communities that have been living in forests for centuries. These communities are called tribes. The people of a tribe are called tribals. They fulfill most of their requirements from forest products. India has a number of tribes living in its different parts. Look at the following chart. Name of tribe, areas where they are found. Gonds, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh. Bhils, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat. Santhals, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Odisha. Khasis, Meghalaya, Assam. Badagas, Tamil Nadu. Godis, Himachal Pradesh. Narmadas, Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. Main occupation of tribals. Agriculture is the main occupation of tribals. Normally, they practice shifting cultivation, which is also called jhum cultivation. They cultivate crops at a particular piece of land for a few years. Then they move on to another area, clear up the new piece of land and do farming there. Some tribes also use slash and burn method to increase the fertility of the soil. In this method, they cut a few trees and burn them. The ashes obtained after burning increase the fertility of soil and make it fit for sowing rice. But this method is not advisable as it causes deforestation. Besides agriculture, other occupations of tribal communities are gathering honey, fruits, medicinal plants, resin, etc., hunting and making things out of forest produce. The tribals totally depend on the forest products for their livelihood. The tribal people collect leaves to make pattal, leaf plate, on which they eat their food. Collect tendu leaves for making beedis. Make brooms and mats from grass. Obtain turpentine, tannin, resins, gums from trees. Make baskets from bamboos. Collect seeds meant to get oil. For example, oil from sal and neem are used in making soap. Oil obtained from sandalwood is used to make perfume. Tribal people sell forest products in the market. Sacred groves. Many tribal societies worship nature. They consider certain plants and animals as sacred and worship them. Neem, peepal, and banyan are considered sacred trees. On religious festivals, these trees are decorated and worshipped. It is believed that this brings prosperity, a good harvest, good health, and peace. In our country, sacred groves are an integral part of some tribal societies. A certain patch of forest land is dedicated to a deity or village god. This is a sacred grove. No one is permitted to cut any tree or kill animals or birds in this area. Deforestation. Cutting down of forests on large scale is called deforestation. Deforestation causes soil erosion that makes the land infertile. Floods and landslides are common in deforested areas. Animals lose their homes when we cut down forests. Climate also becomes warmer. Reasons for deforestation. Shifting cultivation. In many forests, the tribal people practice shifting cultivation. They clear a patch of forest by cutting the trees in the area and cultivate crops. After a few years, due to not using manure or fertilizers, the land becomes barren and thus unfit for further cultivation. The tribal people leave this place and clear another patch of forest land for cultivation. Urbanization. Due to growing population, forests are cleared for agriculture and building cities and towns. Also due to increasing population and modern lifestyle, the forests are cleared for fulfilling the growing needs. Displacement of the tribals. Tribal people are directly dependent on trees, but due to excessive cutting down of forests, the natural habitat of the tribal people are being destroyed. They are being forced to evacuate the forest and go to urban areas to earn their livelihood. Tribal people find it difficult to adjust to the life in the cities. They have neither modern education nor do have the technical skill to survive in the towns and cities. They are forced to do hard work at lower wages in the towns and cities. Very often, they are exploited too. They have to suffer a lot when they are displaced from a place where they had lived for generations. Their psychology, culture, health and beliefs suffer due to this displacement. Some tribes like the Jarawas of Andaman and Nicobar Islands are facing the threat of extinction. Forest conservation. Man is bound to cut trees to fulfill his needs. Our country does not have enough forests to meet the increasing needs. There should be a balance between cutting the trees and planting new trees. We should plant trees in a big way. Trees should be protected from diseases and pests. To increase the forest area, our government has started many programs like the Social Forestry and Van Mahotsava. Van Mahotsava is celebrated every year during the monsoons. During this program, thousands of school children participate and plant trees every year. The Chipko movement. Cutting large number of trees in the Garhwal Himalayan region led to landslides. In 1947, hundreds of women from the Chamoli district in Uttarakhand went into the forests when the woodcutters arrived. The women put their arms around the trees, telling the woodcutters that they would not be able to cut the trees without first killing them. The contractors withdrew and the forests were saved. The Chipko movement spread and many villagers began to guard the forest from being felled. This movement was led by Chandi Prasad Bhatt and Sundarlal Bahuguna, well-known environmentalists of India. Chapter 9. Animals are friends. Like plants, animals are also useful to us. They provide us many things like food, clothing, medicines, etc. They are used for agricultural activities and for carrying goods. Let us study about them in detail. Milk. We get milk from animals like cows, buffaloes, goats and camels. It is also used to make milk products like butter, cheese, curd, ice cream, etc. Honey. We get honey from honeybees. Eggs and meat. We get eggs from hens and ducks. They are a rich source of proteins, vitamins, iron and phosphorus. Meat is obtained from animals like goat and sheep. Wool. We get wool from the fleece or the soft hairy coat of sheep. Wool is used for making sweaters, gloves, caps, mufflers, socks, etc. Silk. We get silk from silkworms. The larva of silkworm spins a layer around itself called cocoon. This layer is used to make silk. The larva spins the layer till the time it becomes an adult worm. Leather. We get leather from the skins of dead animals like sheep, cow, deer, yak, etc. These are used for making clothes like jackets, trousers, skirts, etc. and for making things like purses, bags, belts, suitcases, etc. Animals used for making medicines. Fish oil is used in manufacturing cod liver oil. It is a rich source of vitamin A, D, and E. Animals used in the fields. India being an agricultural country, the poor farmers use animals like oxen, buffaloes, camels, etc. for plowing their fields. Animals used as means of transport. People use bullock carts and horse carriages in villages as the means of transport. Animals like donkeys, mules, elephants and camels are used for carrying goods from one place to another. Camels are used for transportation of people and goods in deserts. Animal products used in industries. Animal products are used in toy-making industries and for making paints, varnishes, ornaments and many other things. Some other animal products. Birds' feathers. Birds' feathers are used by the tribal people to make their headgears and other decorative things to adorn themselves. Wax. Forest people gather wax from beehives and use it for commercial purposes. Wax is also used for making candles, crayons, polish, and cosmetics. Lac. The lac insect secretes a sticky substance called lac. It is used for making paints, varnishes, furniture polish, and printing ink. It is also used for making seals for sealing different things. Ivory. Elephants' tusks are made up of a substance called ivory. It is taken from dead elephant and used for making ornaments. People also use it to make combs and jewelry boxes. Oysters. Precious pearls are obtained from oysters, which are found in the deep seas and oceans. They are used for making beautiful ornaments. Animals used in sports. Some animals are used for sports. Horses and ponies are used for horse racing and polo. Bulls are used for bullfighting. People who depend on animals. Some people earn their livelihood from animals. For example, a snake charmer plays the tune on a flute-like instrument called a bean, and the snake seems to dance to his tune. In this way, they use them to entertain people and earn their living. Madaris and bhalubalas train monkeys and bears to perform tricks to earn their livelihood. In a circus, lion tamer and elephant tamer entertain people by showing acrobatic skill of these animals to earn their living. In fairs and tourist spots, camels and elephants are used for fun riding. People who keep animals give good food and fodder to them and keep them in clean shelters. They keep them neat and tidy, but some people hunt animals for their skin, tusks, flesh, or fur. This is a very cruel act and should be stopped. The illegal hunting of animals for their body parts is called poaching. Our government has taken many steps to conserve wildlife for protecting animals. Steps taken by the government for wildlife conservation. The government has formulated an act for protecting the wildlife called Wildlife Protection Act 1972. According to this scheme, poaching of animals has been declared a punishable act. Project Tiger. In 1973, the Government of India launched a scheme to save tigers. This scheme was named Project Tiger. 9 wildlife sanctuaries were declared as tiger reserves. Today, there are around 27 tiger reserves. Tigers cannot survive in isolation. Saving the tiger involves maintaining the population of herbivores, which are tigers' prey, and the herbivores survive only if there is a rich vegetation in the forest. Apart from tiger reserves, our government has set up many national parks and wildlife sanctuaries to protect other wild animals, which include elephants, crocodiles, lions, rhinoceroses, species of deer, etc. Some world-level organizations are also involved in wildlife conservation. These are WWF, or Worldwide Fund for Nature, is the world's largest wildlife conservation organization, having 50 lakh supporters and works in more than 90 countries. PETA, People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, is the largest animal rights organization in the world. It works to protect animals from exploitation in laboratories or entertainment industries. Chapter 10. Animals and Their Senses. Like humans, animals too have sense organs that help them in a number of ways. They help them communicate with each other. They help them to warn each other about the danger. They use them to react to different sounds, heat, light, smell, and locate food. Some sense organs are more developed in certain animals. Sense of smell. The sense of smell in many animals is sharper than humans. Dogs have a very good sense of smell which helps them in locating their food. Because of this ability, they are used by police in rescue operations. Hedgehogs hunt at night using their strong sense of smell. It helps them in finding insects, snails, and small animals like frogs. Kiwis also have a very good sense of smell. It helps to find worms and insect larvae. Ants and other insects have hair-like structures on their head called antennae. The antennae help them in locating food. Antennae have sensitive cells that help them to detect the smell. Snakes and lizards also have a good sense of smell. Their sensory organs are located on the upper side of their mouth. Sense of vision. Some birds have good vision, which helps them in locating their food which is far away. For example, a hawk or an eagle can spot a mouse on the ground while flying high in the sky. Owls are able to locate their prey even in dim light. They have very good vision that help them in hunting their prey at night. They can see their prey moving at a distance of around 150 feet. Animals of cat family like tiger, leopard, and cat can also locate their prey at night. These animals have a layer of crystalline substance in their eyes. This substance has the ability to reflect light. This reflecting layer enables them to see in the dark much better than human beings. Reptiles like chameleons have the ability to move their eyes independently in different directions. For this reason, they can see in two directions at the same time, which helps them in finding food and also makes them aware of any danger. Insects like ants, honeybees, flies, etc. have a pair of compound eyes. Thousands of lenses located in their compound eyes receive many images. It helps them in finding out fast movements easily. Sense of hearing. Some animals have a very good sense of hearing which helps them in catching their prey. Whales and dolphins are supposed to have a very good sense of hearing. They can hear 15 times better than us. They also find their prey in water by the technique of echolocation. Snakes do not have external ears. They have ear bone in their head which helps them to find out vibrations of sound waves moving through the ground. Bats can fly in the dark. They have the ability to give out and receive high-pitched sounds called ultrasonic sounds. Sense of touch. Nocturnal animals are those animals which hunt at night. They not only have good eyesight but also a very good sense of smell which helps them in finding their food. Cats' whiskers are sensitive to touch. They help them in catching their prey. Fish like stonefish have spines on their bodies which are sensitive to touch. As soon as any fish touches these spines, immediately it injects its prey with a deadly poison and eats it. Insects like butterflies have hair on their wings that are sensitive to touch. These hairs are able to detect the changes in air pressure easily, which helps them in finding food. Sense of taste. Insects like bees, houseflies, butterflies, etc. have taste buds on their feet. They mostly walk on the leaves of a plant before laying the eggs to check if it can be eaten by its young ones. An earthworm's whole body has taste buds called receptors on it. Sleeping pattern of animals. Like us, animals also sleep to take rest, but different animals sleep for different number of hours. It is because of different factors. Animals like elephant, horse, cow and giraffe need more energy than smaller animals, so they eat more to meet their energy requirements. As the time taken for their food is more, so they sleep for less number of hours. Migratory birds sleep while flying. Animals like cat and dogs sleep with their eyes closed. Cows sleep with their eyes open. Horses sleep while standing. Dolphins sleep with one eye open and with half of their brain sleeping. Chapter 11. Food for plants and animals. Food for plants. Every living thing needs food to survive. We get our food from plants or other animals, but plants are also living things and hence need food. Most plants can make their own food. Plants can be classified into 4 main categories. They are green plant, non-green plant, insectivorous plant, and parasitic plant. Green plants. The green leaves of plants carry out the important work of making food. For this, green leaves need 3 important raw materials: water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight. The roots take in water and minerals from the soil. The stem carries these materials towards the leaves. The leaves absorb carbon dioxide from the air through small pores on their surface called stomata. Most plants have green leaves. The color of leaves is green due to the presence of a green pigment called chlorophyll. The chlorophyll pigments trap energy from the sun to make food. This energy is utilized by chlorophyll to make sugar with the help of water and carbon dioxide. This process is called photosynthesis. This sugar is later changed to starch and stored in different parts of the plant. Life-saving gas oxygen is also produced during photosynthesis. Water plus carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll gives oxygen plus sugar, starch. Non-green plants. Non-green plants like molds, mushroom and fungi do not have chlorophyll to prepare their own food. They get their food from dead or decaying remains of plants and animals in the soil. Insectivorous plants. Though plants do not normally eat other plants or animals like us, there are some plants which eat animals, especially insects. They have special methods to trap their food. Such plants are called insectivorous plants. Let us learn about some insectivorous plants. Venus flytrap. Venus flytrap catches and digests animals like insects and spiders. It has a pair of terminal lobes hinged at the midrib forming the trap. The lobes exhibit rapid plant movements, snapping shut when stimulated by prey. It takes about 10 days to digest its prey and then the trap reopens and is ready for reuse. Pitcher plant. In a pitcher plant, the leaf is modified to form a pitcher-like structure. When any insect sits on the pitcher, the lid is closed and the insect is trapped in the pitcher. It is then digested by some digestive juices secreted from the plants. Parasitic plants. The plants like cuscuta survive on other green plants for their food and nutrients. Such plants are called parasitic plants. Food for animals. Unlike plants, animals cannot make their own food. They obtain food from plants and other animals. Based on the type of food they eat, the animals are divided into the following groups: herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, scavengers, parasites. Animals that eat only plant products such as grass, leaves and grains are called herbivores or herbivorous animals. Cow, deer, goat, buffalo, horse, elephants, etc. are examples of herbivores. Animals that eat flesh of other animals as food are called carnivores or carnivorous animals. Lion, tiger, frog, etc. are examples of carnivores. Animals that eat both plants and animals as food are known as omnivores or omnivorous animals. Crow, dog, bear, and man are some examples of omnivorous animals. Animals that eat dead animals or leftovers of animals hunted by lions, etc. are called scavengers. Hyenas, jackals, and vultures are examples of scavengers. Animals that live in or on other living organisms and derive their food from hosts are called parasites. Mosquitoes, leeches, tapeworms, roundworms, etc. are examples of parasites. Food chain. Living beings are dependent on each other for their survival. For example, a goat eats grass and human beings eat goat meat. A deer eats plants and a tiger eats a deer. This sequence of eating and being eaten results in a chain called the food chain. Food chains exist everywhere in nature. Aquatic food chain.
The aquatic food chain given above suggests that weeds in the water are eaten by the small fish, and a small fish, in turn, is eaten by a big fish.
This makes a food chain. Terrestrial food chain. The terrestrial food chain given above suggests that the plant on land is eaten by a deer. A deer, in turn, is eaten by a tiger. In a food chain, as the food goes from one level to the next, there is also a transfer of energy at each level of the chain. Food web. In a community, very few animals eat only one type of food. For example, a tiger does not depend only on deer for its food. It can eat many other types of animals like rabbits, cows, and sambars. Similarly, most foods are eaten by more than one type of animals. For example, grass is not eaten only by deer, but also by cows, buffaloes, and horses. Thus, many interconnected food chains exist in a community. The network of interconnected food chains is called a food web. Chapter 12. Production and Preservation of Food. India is an agricultural country. Many people are involved in agriculture. Food is grown by farmers. They work very hard to make food available to us. Farmers. There are three types of farmers in India. Big farmers. The farmers that own a huge land for farming are called big farmers. They employ many small farmers to work on their land. These types of farmers are mostly found in Punjab and Haryana. Subsistence farmers. They have a small piece of land for farming on which they grow just enough food for themselves and their families. They do not sell their produce. These types of farmers are mostly found in Andhra Pradesh. They lead a very difficult life. The crops they grow are not adequate for their own family.
That is why they are not able to buy seeds and fertilizers of good quality.
They keep on cultivating crops over the same piece of land, which as a result loses its fertility. They are not able to buy new land due to poverty. Tenant farmers. They do not have their own land. They work as laborers for big farmers and are paid daily wages. When they do not get the work of farming, they go to cities or towns to work as domestic helpers or laborers. Getting a high yield of crops. For producing good yield, a farmer needs good quality seeds, the latest farm machines, better irrigation facilities, manures, fertilizers, and pesticides. Good quality seeds. Many farmers preserve the grains of good quality of previous year's yield. They use them as seeds for the next year. But today, scientists are developing hybrid seeds for better yields. Latest farm machines. The cooperative banks provide loan to the farmers for buying latest farm machines and fertilizers. By the use of all these, they can increase their yield of crops. Irrigation facilities. Besides these, water is another important thing for farming. Rainwater is not available throughout the year. So, to ensure proper supply of water for better yield, farmers irrigate fields through wells, tube wells, canals, water wheels, etc. A very simple device called water wheel or rehet is used to draw water from the well. People construct tanks and canals for making water available to their crops throughout the year. Tube wells are dug which run on electricity. They are used by the farmers to irrigate their fields. Rainwater is also stopped by check dams which farmers build to ensure continuous water supply to their fields. Manure and fertilizers. Manure is prepared by decomposition of animal dung. Dung, vegetable waste, domestic waste, plant waste, etc. are decomposed in a pit. After some time, these things change into compost. Compost is also prepared by using earthworms. This type of compost is called vermicompost. Manure helps in increasing soil fertility. The manure also increases the water-holding capacity of the soil. Fertilizers are chemicals. They are used to ensure better growth of plants and better yield. Fertilizers result in water pollution. Preservation of food. Do you know that food gets spoiled due to fungi and bacteria? Food is also spoiled by insects and rats. To prevent spoilage of food, we should keep food in clean containers or utensils. We should keep insects, rats, dust and fumes away from food. Food preservation is the process of keeping food in its original condition. Food stored in cool and dry places stays fresh longer than the food kept in warm, damp places. Different methods of preserving food are canning, freezing, drying, adding chemical preservatives, curing, etc. Canning. Food can be preserved for a long time by canning it. Food is preserved in cans or tins. First of all, the food is heated to a high temperature before being sealed in the cans. Heating kills all germs. Machines are used to remove all the air from the can and tins. Freezing. Freezing involves preserving food at a very low temperature. Many poultry products, including meat, fish, fruits, vegetables, and dairy products, can be preserved by this method. The food is frozen in factories. It is then transported in special cold containers where it is stored in freezers. After buying it from the market, people store it in their own refrigerators, fridges at home. Drying. By this method, all the moisture from the food is removed to make it safe from attack by germs, as they cannot survive on dry food. This method is used to preserve apples, bananas, and papayas. Wheat, rice, and fish are also preserved using this method. Some foods like milk and fruits are dried and made into a fine powder, which is then sealed in packs or bottles and transported. People just add water to the powder and use it. Some fruits that have a higher water content are also dried and packed to prevent them from being spoiled. Using chemical preservatives. Sometimes chemicals are used as preservatives. Sodium metabisulfite is used to preserve jams, juices, and jellies. Curing. This includes salting, pickling, and sweetening for preserving food. Salting. This method involves adding salt to food like raw mango, amla, or lemons to prepare pickle. Salt is added to preserve it for a longer time. Pickling. Vegetables are pickled in vinegar and spices or just by adding oil and spices. Sweetening. Fruits are preserved by adding sugar to them. Jams and jellies are made by this method. Chapter 13. Fuels for Vehicles. The early humans had to walk everywhere or ride on animals' back. With the invention of wheel, the means of transport improved. Nowadays, vehicles are drawn by animals or are powered by an engine. All the vehicles powered by an engine require fuel, as the food we eat provides us with energy for doing work. Similarly, the food of vehicles is fuel from which they get energy to move from one place to another. Fuel. Materials burned to produce energy are called fuels. Fuels are used for running vehicles. Vehicles use different types of fuels. Good quality of fuels makes movement of vehicles quick and fast. Quick travel means that we can easily go from one place to another quickly. Even we can easily move goods from one part of the country to another. Now we can eat coconuts from Kerala and apples from Himachal Pradesh at the same time. Let us study about some important types of fuels. Coal. In the past, coal was used as a fuel for running steam engines and ships. In these vehicles, coal was burned to produce heat. This heat boiled the water in the boiler to produce steam. Steam moved the piston, which turned the wheel of the vehicles. This is how the train moved. Coal is now not in much use for trains and ships. Formation of coal. Coal was formed from plant materials that got buried under the surface of the earth millions of years ago. Due to high temperature and pressure inside the earth, the wood got converted into coal. Absence of air inside the earth also helps in formation of coal. This process is very slow and takes thousands of years to convert wood into coal. Coal is called a fossil fuel as it is made from the dead remains of plants that lived thousands of years ago. Uses of coal. Coal is used as a fuel for cooking, producing electricity in thermal power plants, moving engines, etc. Many chemicals made from coal are used in drugs, plastic, nylon, and fertilizers. Petroleum. Today, almost all means of transport like cars, buses, motorcycles, scooters, aeroplanes, and ships depend on petroleum products like petrol, diesel, and CNG, compressed natural gas. Every motor vehicle has an engine. When fuels like petrol, diesel, or CNG is burnt in an engine, energy is produced. This energy runs the engine, which moves the vehicle. Formation of petroleum and its products. Petroleum is a dark-colored, thick crude oil. In Greek, petra means rocks and oleum means oil. So, the word petroleum means oil from rocks. Petroleum was formed when small marine plants and marine animals got buried under the sea millions of years ago. Due to high pressure and temperature, their dead bodies got converted slowly into petroleum. Petroleum is obtained by drilling holes called oil wells into the earth's crust. The petroleum so obtained is taken to an oil refinery. Here, from crude petroleum, different types of fuels such as petrol, kerosene, diesel, etc. are obtained. How we get petrol and diesel? The petrol and diesel obtained at the oil refinery is supplied to the petrol depots in different parts of the country by trains and tankers. From these depots, petrol is then supplied to the petrol pumps by means of tankers. We get petrol or diesel from these petrol pumps. How to save petrol and diesel? We can save petrol and diesel in the following ways. We should keep our vehicles in good condition. We should keep the engines of our vehicles properly tuned. For this, we should send our vehicles for periodic services. Servicing of our vehicles improves efficiency and reduces the consumption of fuels. Hence, we save fuel. We should use public transport like buses, local and metro trains to reduce the number of vehicles on the road. This also saves fuel. We should walk or use a bicycle for covering short distances instead of using motor vehicles. This saves fuel. Knowing the cost of petrol, diesel and CNG. The price of petrol, diesel and CNG does not remain constant. It changes from time to time. Conservation of fuels. Fuels such as coal, petroleum and natural gas take millions of years to form, but today we are using them at far greater speed than they can be produced. They are limited in quantity, and if used like this, they will be exhausted very soon. Because of the long time they take to form, they are also known as non-renewable sources of energy. The demand for fuels is increasing because the number of vehicles are increasing day by day. This is due to rise in the living standard of people. High prices, limited supply and polluting effects of fuels like petrol and diesel have compelled us to search for renewable sources of energy. These are also called alternative sources of energy. We can use renewable sources of energy like solar energy, wind energy, and energy of flowing water. They have the following advantages over fuels like coal and petroleum. They do not cause any pollution. They are not likely to get exhausted. They are available almost free of cost. We can solve the problem of energy crisis by using more alternative sources of energy, using fuels judiciously, and stopping wastage of fuels. Chapter 14. Plants and Animals in Water. We all know that nearly 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered with water. A wide variety of plants and animals live in the rivers, oceans and lakes. Plants and animals living in water constitute the aquatic life. Aquatic plants. Plants which live in water are called aquatic plants. They can be divided into 3 categories: free-floating plants, submerged plants, fixed plants. Free-floating plants. These are light, spongy plants that are seen floating on the surface of water. These plants have swollen leaf stalks that are filled with water. Their roots are poorly developed. Their stems are spongy with a large number of air spaces. Some examples of floating plants are duckweed, water hyacinth, and water lettuce. Submerged plants. These plants have narrow leaves without pores. Such leaves allow water to pass through them with least resistance. They breathe through their body surface. Their roots are fixed to the soil at the bottom of the water. The whole plant remains under water. Some examples of these plants are hydrilla, tape grass, and pondweed. They are often found in lakes and slow-moving rivers and streams. Fixed plants. These plants have long hollow stems and their roots are fixed to the soil. They breathe through the pores that are found in their broad leaves, floating on the surface of water. Their leaves have an oily surface which makes them waterproof. Examples of such plants are lotus and water lily. Aquatic animals. Besides plants, many animals also live in water. They are called aquatic animals. Aquatic animals can be divided into following categories: animals with shells, fish, aquatic birds, aquatic mammals, amphibians. Animals with shells. These animals have a hard crust shell around their bodies. Some examples are crabs, lobsters, turtles, and shrimps. The limbs of these animals help them swim in water. Turtles have paddle-like limbs that push the water backwards and help them in swimming. Fish. They have gills which help them in breathing in water. They have fins that help them in balancing their bodies in water and swimming, and their streamlined bodies enable them to move in water easily. Aquatic birds. Aquatic birds normally have narrow and pointed beaks which enable them to catch food in water. They have webbed feet which enable them to swim in water and walk on land. Some examples of aquatic birds are herons, swans, ducks, etc. Aquatic mammals. Mammals like dolphins, whales, etc. are animals that spend their life in water. They have smooth and streamlined bodies with little hair and no external ears. They also have strong and rigid fins that helps them to swim. They breathe through lungs. Amphibians. They are animals that live both in water and on land. Frogs and toads are amphibians. They have no neck. Their hind legs are very powerful that help them in leaping. Their webbed feet help them swim, and a long sticky tongue helps them in catching food. Chapter 15. Water, a wonder liquid. We see a number of materials in our daily life. They exist in solid, liquid, or gaseous form. But water is the only material that exists in all the three forms: solid, liquid, and gas. Let us study some of the properties of water. Soluble and insoluble in water. Take a glass and fill it half with water. Add 1 spoon of sugar to it. Mix the sugar well and observe. You will find that the sugar has disappeared. Taste the water. It is sweet. This is because the sugar has dissolved in water. So, we say that sugar is soluble in water. Here water is a solvent and sugar is a solute. The mixture obtained is a solution. Milk, common salt, washing soda, potassium permanganate are other examples of materials that are soluble in water. Now take another glass and fill it half with water. Add half a spoon of sand to it. Mix the sand well and observe. You will see that sand settles down at the bottom of the glass. Sand does not dissolve in water. So, we say that sand is insoluble in water. Some materials sink and some float on water. The materials which sink in water are heavier than water. Stone, copper, aluminium, and chalk are some examples of materials which are heavier than water. The material which floats on water is lighter than water. Plastic, ice, and kerosene are some examples of materials lighter than water. Properties of liquids. We know that there are various types of liquid like water, oil, milk, and petrol. They all are different in many ways. They have different colors and smells, but they are also similar in many other ways. They are not rigid. That is, they are not fixed like solids. They can flow from a higher to a lower level. They do not have a shape of their own. They take the shape of the container they are kept in. They have a definite volume. That is, they can be measured. Measuring liquids. Since liquids do not have any particular shape of their own, they have to be put into containers which have definite shapes like that of a glass or beaker. When the container is completely filled with a liquid, its volume is equal to the inner volume of the container. The most convenient apparatus for measuring the volume of a liquid is a measuring cylinder. A measuring cylinder is a glass container with marking indicator indicating volume in liters and milliliters on it. 1 liter L equal to 1000 milliliters ml. A liter is the standard unit for measuring liquids. We buy liquids like oil and petrol in liters. Different fixed measures made of metals like aluminium are also used to measure liquids. Chapter 16. Different Types of Houses. Besides food, water, air, and clothes, a house is also one of our basic needs. A house protects us from heat, cold, rain, wind, animals, thieves, and bad weather. It is a place where we can keep our belongings, feel comfortable, and live with our family members. A good home is essential for well-being and safety of everyone. Variation in houses. Houses are of different kinds, sizes, and designs. We can see different kinds of houses at different places. Variation in the types and designs of houses can be due to many factors. Some of these factors are climatic conditions and landforms. In the hills, heavy rain and snowfall are common, so people living in hilly areas make their houses with sloping roofs. This prevents rainwater and snow from accumulating thereon. In the Arctic regions, the ground is covered with ice and snow throughout the year. The natives of this place, called Eskimos, cut blocks of snow and make dome-shaped houses out of it. These houses are called igloos. The snow wall acts as an insulator and prevents the icy winds from entering the igloo. It also prevents the warmth inside the igloo from escaping, even when the outside temperature is as low as -45 degrees Celsius. The temperature inside the igloo is warm and cozy. In earthquake-prone areas like Japan, people build houses of wood and bamboo. These houses are lightweight. In case of an earthquake, these houses generally do not collapse. If they collapse, they do not cause much harm to life and property. Houses in flood-prone areas are made on a raised platform called stilts. These houses have a ladder going up to them. The ladder is removed at night to protect people from animals in the area. These types of houses are also built near the seashores. In Kashmir and Kerala, many people make houses on boats. These are called houseboats. Houseboats are a great attraction for the tourists visiting these areas. Available materials. In villages, while building a house, we generally use materials that are easily available in the area. Thus, where clay and brick kilns are found in plenty, we find houses made of bricks. Where bamboos and grass are available, people make huts with thatched roofs. Materials like bricks, tiles, iron, and cement are not easily available in villages, so people make mud houses. These are called kacha houses. The roofs of these houses are thatched roofs made of wood, bamboo, and straw. However, houses of bricks are becoming common in villages these days. It has become possible because of the availability of transport facility. In cities and towns. In cities and towns, building materials like bricks, tiles, cement, iron, marbles, glass, etc. are easily available. So, people here make houses using these modern materials. These houses are called pakka houses. These structures are strong and long-lasting. In big cities, the shortage of space has led to the construction of very tall buildings. These are called multi-story buildings or skyscrapers. They have many floors and each building has many independent houses called flats. In cities, because of the availability of raw materials and resources, houses are made of different designs. These pakka houses are strong and permanent and do not need repair too frequently. Economic status. The type of a house a person builds also depends on the money he can afford to spend in constructing the house. A man of small means will build a small house and use cheaper materials. On the other hand, a rich man can build a big modern house using highly expensive materials like sandstone, teak wood, marble, etc. While building a house, materials used for the roof, wall, and floor depend upon the money one can invest. According to the amount of money spent, houses can be of two types. Low-cost houses. A large number of people in rural areas are very poor and cannot afford to build high-cost houses. They look for materials which are cheaper and are available within the limit of their budget. Many poor people live even in cities. They cannot afford proper shelters. They use cheap materials like plastic, tin sheets, plywood and cardboard to build makeshift houses. Such areas in cities are called slums. High-cost houses. Bungalows and other pakka houses seen in cities and towns are high-cost houses. The roofs are made of burnt tiles or concrete. The walls are made of bricks and are plastered with a mixture of cement and sand. Expensive tiles, wallpapers, or even glasses are used on these walls to make them look modern and fashionable. The floors are made of expensive marble or porcelain tiles. Chapter 17. Living Together. An individual is born and brought up in a family. He or she lives with other members in the family and develops a feeling of belongingness and togetherness. He or she acquires values like love, sharing, tolerance, cooperation, caring, etc. Each family tries to fulfill its own needs. All members try to help one another and take care of each other. A family is the basic unit of the community. Several families living close to one another make a community. The family culture gradually extends into the culture of the community. A community consists of families engaged in different occupations. This is termed as division of labor. Amongst its members are farmers, barbers, weavers, tailors, carpenters, goldsmiths, shopkeepers, laborers, doctors, teachers, engineers, bankers, etc. A community promotes interdependence. We are dependent on each other for our existence in the society. Everyone plays a role in the society as one cannot do all the work alone. Thus, division of labor becomes essential in the society. Living together in groups gives us many advantages such as safety, protection, cooperation, help and assistance. When one needs, sharing of resources, sharing the feelings of sorrow and joy, learning from each other in many areas. Social well-being of member families in the society. Member families of the society share common facilities for the social well-being of its members. The sense of sharing common facilities brings balance in the society. Everyone in the society is not equally capable. Some are less privileged and some are more. The society takes care of old, sick and handicapped people. These things make living of each member of the society easy. The common facilities that we share in the society are market, park, post office, railway station, hospital, public transport and school. In earlier times, people living in a village used to fulfill their basic needs within that village. There were farmers who grew food, carpenters, potters, blacksmiths and weavers who made items of utility, and shopkeepers who sold things. The villagers exchanged articles according to their needs, but modern villages are in direct contact with the towns and cities through transport and various means of communication. Changes in the village life. Most of the kacha houses are replaced by pakka houses in the modern villages. The modern villages are now equipped with electricity supply, water, sewage system and the pakka roads. Need for living in groups. Just like humans, most animals also live in groups. Fish live in shoals, birds fly in flocks, and elephants live in herds. Hunting animals like lions and tigers hunt in groups, but they generally do not live together. In most animals, the purpose of living together is generally due to the reasons: protection from enemies and reproduction. At the sight of an enemy, The animals in a group alert each other by making noise. They either run away or ward off the enemy by staying together. Thus, staying in a group helps animals in their survival. Similarly, staying together also helps them in giving birth to and protecting their children. Animal babies are safer when they grow with a group of animals. Social nature in animals. Most animals do not have a social nature, and there is no clear-cut division of labor in an animal group as it is in case of human beings. However, insects like ants and honeybees are known to have a well-developed social organization in their colonies. They live in groups and work collectively in search of food. They protect each other from enemies. The behavior of ants and honeybees represents the social nature of insect world. Ants. Ants are very small animals that live in a colony with many other ants. Colonies consist of underground nests with a series of chambers connected to each other by small tunnels. There are rooms for nurseries, food storage, etc. Some of these colonies are extremely large with millions of ants living like a big family. Like humans, ants divide the work of the colony among themselves. In an ant colony, the ants are divided into different categories depending on the work they perform. The queen ant. There is a large female ant called the queen who spends all her life laying eggs. A queen can live up to around 15 years. Male ants. A few winged male ants are produced from time to time. They leave the colony and mate with the queen to produce eggs and then die. Worker ants. There are thousands of wingless female worker ants who gather food, take care of the eggs, and maintain the colony. Most of the ants in a colony are workers. They carry tiny bits of soil or dirt from the nest and deposit them at the entrances in a pile. We call this an anthill. There are large worker ants called soldiers who defend the colony from unwanted visitors. Honeybees. Honeybees have a highly organized social structure. They live in a nest called a hive. Nearly 50,000 to 80,000 bees live in a hive. Honeybees take care of their infants and protect the queen who is in charge of the colony. There are 3 kinds of bees. Queen bee. There is a single queen bee in a hive. Her job is to lay eggs in the hive. She lays around 1,200 eggs per day. She is the most important bee in the beehive. Male bee. Male bees called drones live a life of leisure. Their only job is to mate with the queen. Female workers. The worker bees collect nectar, feed the young ones, and defend and maintain the hive. Older ones fly outside the hive, collecting nectar and guarding the hive from unwanted visitors. They produce wax to make new honeycombs, which are hexagonal in shape. Chapter 18. Heritage Buildings. What is a heritage building? Monuments and historical buildings are very important for us to learn about the past and our heritage. A building which is considered by the government to have historic, cultural or architectural value is called a heritage building. Forts, palaces, places of worship and tombs are some of the different types of heritage buildings. A monument gives a lot of information to historians. We learn about the person who built it, the materials used, the style of architecture and the purpose of the building. Let us learn more about some famous Indian monuments. The Taj Mahal. This beautiful monument was built by Shah Jahan, the Mughal emperor, in memory of his beloved wife, Mumtaz Mahal. It is located in Agra.
About 20,000 artisans and craftspeople worked for nearly 20 years to build this monument.
The materials that were used to build the Taj Mahal also came from many different places. For instance, the white marble came from Rajasthan, sandstone came from Delhi, and precious stones came from Punjab, Baghdad, and Tibet. It is believed that over 40 types of gems were used to decorate the Taj Mahal. It remains one of the grandest and most popular monuments in the world. The Red Fort. This monument was also built by Shah Jahan in Delhi. It was the residence of the Mughal emperor and was built as a fort so that it could be defended from attack. It has a number of gates and is surrounded by a wall of red sandstone. Inside the Red Fort, we find a number of palaces where the emperor and the royal family lived. We also find the Diwan-e-Am, where he could meet common people, the Diwan-e-Khas, where he could meet his ministers and advisors, and a number of other buildings. Qutub Minar. This historical monument consists of a tall and majestic tower which has a height of over 70 meters. It was started by Qutbuddin Aybak, a Turkish ruler who founded the Delhi Sultanate, and completed by Iltutmish. It contains lot on information in the form of inscriptions. It can still be seen from a distance and is a popular tourist destination in Delhi. Gol Gumbaz. This structure is the tomb of Muhammad Adil Shah, the Sultan of Bijapur. It is located in the city of Bijapur in Karnataka. It has one of the largest domes in the world. Giant pillars were constructed to support the dome. Meenakshi Temple. It is an ancient temple located in the holy city of Madurai in Tamil Nadu. The temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva and his wife Parvati. It is famous because of its rich decorations and beautiful architecture. Thousands of people still flock to this temple to show their devotion. Gateway of India. This beautiful monument is located in Mumbai. It was built in 1911 on the occasion of the visit of King George V of England and his wife. It is made of yellow basalt and concrete. Ajanta and Ellora caves. These ancient rock-cut cave monuments are located at Aurangabad in Maharashtra. They contain beautiful sculptures and paintings from Buddhist and Hindu culture. What can we learn from historical monuments? Monuments give us an idea about the grand lifestyle of kings and queens of the past who lived in them. We admire the beauty of the work done by craftspeople and artisans of the past. Monuments tell us about what people of the time wore, what materials they used, and the knowledge they had of architecture. The use of stones like marble, sandstone, etc. makes us wonder how these stones were obtained and how they were transported over long distances. When we compare them with modern buildings, we can see a lot of difference. Protection of monuments. The government has set up a special body called the Archaeological Survey of India, ASI, that protects monuments and historical sites. We as citizens can also preserve and protect our monuments by not scribbling on or damaging the walls, not spitting or throwing garbage inside or near the monument, reporting any damage being done to the guards. Chapter 19. Natural Calamities. We often watch on the television or read in the newspaper about heavy destruction of property and loss of human lives due to natural calamities such as earthquakes, droughts, floods, landslides, cyclones, volcanoes, etc. Natural calamities are caused by natural forces. Let us first find out a little about these calamities so that we become equipped to face such emergencies and learn what to do in such situations. Earthquakes. An earthquake is sudden shaking or trembling of the earth's crusts. Earthquakes are caused due to the collision of the plates of rocks under the surface of the earth. When earthquakes are of great intensity, they cause a lot of damage to life and property. An earthquake is measured on Richter scale of 0 to 8 with an instrument called seismograph. When an earthquake occurs, move out of your house to open spaces like parks. If you cannot take shelter under a table or bed, keep your hands on your head. Do not operate electric switches or gadgets when an earthquake occurs. It can cause fire. Droughts. It is a dry period caused due to very less or no rain for a long time in an area. It results in severe water shortage. Ponds and lakes dry up. Huge cracks develop on the soil. Due to scarcity of water, crops dry up and wither away. People do not have food to eat. Their animals are starved as they depend mostly on farm wastes. Floods. Due to heavy rains, the rivers overflow their banks and the water of these rivers overflows into the surrounding areas. This is called a flood. During floods, large areas get submerged in water. Due to waterlogging, standing crops are damaged. Many people and animals are swept away in flood water. Landslides. When a massive rock breaks off and slides down the hillside or the mountain sides, it is called a landslide. It destroys everything that comes in its way. Volcanic eruption. A volcano is a hill with a vent. The vent reaches down to the molten rock beneath the earth. During a volcanic eruption, the molten rock is forced up the vent and flows out of the top as lava. The lava flows out very fast and burns everything that comes in its way. It causes great damage to property and life. Cyclone. A cyclone is a fast-moving, violent and destructive windstorm. Strong winds destroy houses and spoil the crops. A cyclone at sea brings huge volumes of water from the sea to the coastal areas. The rushing sea water destroys everything that comes in its way. Cyclones are a great threat to the people living in coastal areas. Tsunami. Tsunami is a series of giant ocean waves produced by an undersea earthquake or volcanic eruption. These waves, at times 30 meter high and 200 kilometer long, traveling at a speed of 250 to 900 kilometer per hour across entire oceans, can hit seaside habitations and cause enormous harm to both life and property. Role of community during natural calamities. People who are affected by a natural calamity need physical, economical, and mental support from the community. Help and support required can be both immediate as well as long-term. Medical help. The first and foremost thing needed in the event of a disaster is medical help. First aid medical care is immediately required to treat the injured persons at the site of the disaster. Government and non-government organizations organize medical camps and send medical experts for immediate treatment to the physically injured persons. Relief supply. At the time of such tragedies, the entire community must come forward to provide articles of immediate need to the affected people as soon as possible. Essential needs like food, water, clothes, blankets, and tents must be supplied to the affected areas in adequate quantities and in good time. Rescue work. People trapped under the rubbles of a collapsed buildings or in low-lying areas in case of a flood have to be rescued and brought to safety as soon as possible. For this, there are special task forces comprising experts and specially trained personnel. Policemen, fire service personnel, soldiers and volunteers are rushed in for rescue work. Sniffer dogs are also put in service for tracking people trapped under the rubbles. Maintenance of law and order. Very often, antisocial elements take advantage of natural calamities and indulge in stealing unattended properties. To prevent these people from causing disturbance in the law and order situation, the police department puts up police stations and employs police personnel in the affected areas. Psychological counseling. People who have lost their houses and their near and dear ones go through the trauma of nightmares. Some of them lose their mental balance. Their self-esteem and courage to live are shattered. They need medical counseling and moral support to begin life once again. Trained psychologists and doctors help these people to recover from the trauma. Long-term organization help. It takes years to rebuild the area damaged by disasters. Governments as well as voluntary organizations take up the responsibility to educate the children and provide health care. Chapter 20. First Aid and Safety. An accident is something which happens suddenly and causes injuries to people. Accidents can happen anywhere while working at home, crossing a road, boarding a bus, or playing in parks or other places. Accidents often occur because of our carelessness. In the event of an accident, sometimes we are not able to get to a doctor at once. In such cases, the immediate help or treatment given to an injured person before a medical aid can arrive gives immediate relief and sometimes even saves life. This immediate treatment is called first aid. First aid box. We must have a first aid box at home. It must have the following things: cotton, antiseptic lotion, band-aid, gauze, small scissors, forceps, Bernal, thermometer, ORS packets, tablets for fever, vomiting, acidity, etc. First aid for some common injuries. Bleeding nose. Make the patient lie down with his head in a lower position than the body. Do not put a pillow under the patient's head. Pour cold water on the patient's head. Put a cold pack on his or her nose. Do not allow the patient to blow his nose. Burn injuries. Place the affected area directly under cold running water till the burning pain decreases or cover it with ice or wet cloth. Do not apply ghee, oil, etc. on the burn. Make the person roll on the floor if a person's clothes has caught fire. Protect the burn from dust, dirt, flies, etc. Cover it with a thin and light cotton cloth. Take the patient to a doctor if the burns are severe. Cuts and scratches. Clean the area thoroughly with antiseptic lotion so that dirt is washed away. Do not squeeze the wound. Do not wrap the wound with dirty cloth as it causes infection. Put direct pressure on the wound to stop bleeding. If the cut is very deep, call a doctor at once. Insect bites. Insects like bee or wasp sometimes sting us, which is very painful. A sting causes swelling in that part of the body. In case of an insect bite, remove the sting by scraping with the fingernail or the blade. Wash the area thoroughly with soap and water. Apply ice, calamine lotion, or mixture of baking soda and water to relieve the swelling and pain. Apply lime mixed with sugar on the bite. This will give relief to the patient. Squeeze the wound as it releases the poison in the body. Dehydration. Dehydration results due to the loss of salt and water from the body. Give the dehydrated person ORS, oral rehydration solution. It is prepared by dissolving a pinch of salt and 1 tablespoon of sugar in a glass of water. Chapter 21. Natural Resources and Pollution. Materials that are needed to sustain life on Earth are called natural resources. Air, water, sunlight, soil, animals and plants are the main natural resources on Earth. All these natural resources can be classified into 2 categories: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Renewable resources are those that can be replenished through natural cycles. For example, oxygen in the air is replenished through photosynthesis. Air, water, soil, plants, and animals are renewable resources. Non-renewable resources are those that get exhausted and cannot be replenished through natural cycles. Minerals and fossil fuels are non-renewable resources. Let us study about some of the natural resources. Soil. Soil is the uppermost layer of the earth. It supports the growth of plants and supplies them water and minerals. Humans and animals depend directly or indirectly on plants. Any harm done to soil will affect all living things on earth. Water. All living things need water to stay alive. We use water for drinking, cooking, bathing, washing, irrigating, and generating electricity. Although water covers 3/4 of the Earth's surface, yet only 1% of it can be used for drinking. So, we should conserve water. Forests. The large areas where trees grow on their own are called forests. Forests check flood and prevent soil erosion. They help in bringing rain and give shelter to a variety of wild animals. Forests provide wood, rubber, resin, gum, bamboo, lac, and a variety of medicinal plants. Wildlife. Wildlife means animals living in jungles. Wild animals are the fascinating gifts of nature to human beings, but human beings have been killing them for their greed. To conserve wildlife, the government has set up several national parks and hundreds of sanctuaries all over the country. Here, hunting is strictly prohibited. A list of important national parks of India is given below. 1. Bandipur National Park, Karnataka. 2. Corbett National Park, Uttarakhand. 3. Dudhwa National Park, Uttar Pradesh. 4. Gir National Park, Gujarat. 5. Kaziranga National Park, Assam. 6. Navegaon National Park, Maharashtra. 7. Dechigam National Park, Jammu and Kashmir. 8. Nandan Kanan National Park, Odisha. Fossil fuels. Coal, petroleum and natural gas cannot be recycled after they are used. Hence, conservation of fossil fuel is very essential. To conserve fossil fuels, we will have to increase our dependency on alternate sources of energy. Alternate sources of energy like sun, wind, tide and earth should be utilized to substitute our present energy requirements. Minerals. All types of metal wastes, glasses and even papers can be recycled and used for various purposes. Most cities have a kabaddi market which deals in waste materials. The industry that recycles waste materials should be encouraged as it plays a major role in conserving natural resources. Wasteful use of mineral resources should be discouraged. Pollution. The indiscriminate use of natural resources has resulted in an imbalance in the environment and has given rise to environmental pollution. The word pollution may be defined as making the environment dirty with harmful or poisonous substances. Pollution is considered as the biggest enemy of mankind. It is a serious problem. Major kinds of pollution are air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution and soil pollution. Air pollution. There are various ways through which air gets polluted. The main pollutants are chemicals released from factories, exhausts from automobiles and smoke from domestic cooking and power stations. Air pollution can cause many diseases like tuberculosis, asthma, allergies and skin problems. The level of carbon dioxide in the air has increased by human activities. This has led to global warming, which means an increase in the average temperature of the earth. Global warming is bringing stormy weather. It may also melt much of the polar ice caps, flooding low-lying countries such as Bangladesh and Maldives. Air pollution can also turn rain into harmful acid rain. Acid rain damages plants by removing nutrients from the leaves. It also damages buildings and monuments. Measures to control air pollution. Air pollution can be controlled by the following measures. Chemicals and harmful gases from factories should be filtered before they are released into the air. Regular pollution checking of vehicles should be done. Use of compressed natural gas (CNG) should be encouraged. Solid wastes, leaves, wood, etc. should not be burnt in the open. Use of firecrackers should be discouraged. Deforestation should be discouraged and more trees should be planted. Water pollution. Water gets polluted through a number of ways. The main causes are industrial wastes, household activities, washing and bathing in rivers, and use of insecticides, pesticides and fertilizers in fields. Water pollution also causes many diseases such as diarrhea, cholera and jaundice. Measures to control water pollution. Following measures should be adopted to control water pollution. Wastes from factories and domestic sewage should be treated in water treatment plants before being released into common water bodies. Garbage and solid wastes should not be allowed to be dumped into water bodies. Manure and compost should be preferred to chemical fertilizers. Bodies of dead animals should be removed from water bodies immediately. People should not be allowed to perform any unhygienic activities near the source of water. Noise pollution. Noise is defined as unwanted sound. Most of the noise originates from horns, vehicles, machines, loudspeakers, factories and crackers. Constant high-level noise can cause headaches, hypertension, high blood pressure, and permanent deafness. It can also cause behavioral change in animals. Sound is measured in decibels. The normal sound level is 60 decibels. Noise beyond 140 decibels could kill a person. Measures to control noise pollution. Noise pollution can be controlled in the following ways. Use of loudspeakers and playing loud music should be banned. Silent zones should be marked near schools, hospitals, and offices. Blowing of horns in silent zones should be prohibited. Soil pollution. Soil becomes polluted when garbage, chemical wastes, polythene bags, and plastics are dumped in the soil. Pesticides, insecticides, and fertilizers also pollute the soil. Soil pollution lowers food production and leads to water pollution. Measures to control soil pollution. Soil pollution can be controlled in the following ways. Garbage and chemical wastes should not be dumped in the soil. Use of polythene bags and plastics should be banned. Use of chemical fertilizers, insecticides and pesticides should be reduced.